everyone. We are the Group 8 and we're going to discuss about the sensory and motor mechanism. So our scope for this topic is the sensory and motor mechanism, the sensory and motor mechanism of plants, the sensory and motor mechanism of animals, and the similarities of animals and plants. How does our neurons work? The sensory neurons transmit impulses or our senses to the central nervous system, such as the spinal cord or the brain. A motor neurons transmit impulses from the central nervous system to an effector, such as a muscle. So first, what is neurons? Neurons are the basic working unit of our brain because they are the ones who carry signals, commands, and actions. So the sensory neurons, they carry signals from our sensory organs, which are our eyes, our ears, our nose, our tongue, and our hands. So for example, our eyes sense the cup in the table, and that signal is going to travel to the central nervous system to the brain. And the brain will process the signal and gives command or response. And that command will be carried by the motor neurons. The motor neurons will carry the command to our muscles or glands for actions. You sense the cup of water on the table, you think for a command, and the motor neurons will respond by motor output or by picking up the cup of water on the table.
How does the sensory and motor mechanism work in animals? Animals' behavior is explained in terms of the firing of the neural circuits between reception of the stimuli sensory output and movement of the muscle motor output. According to physiologists, these animals' behavior are special purpose adaptation. The response of the animals depends on what they sense on their environment. The sensory abilities of animals is very important to its behavior. All actions, such as body movements, detection of objects of interest, etc., begins with acquisition of information. They constitute a set of monitoring instruments with which the animals gather information. After gathering the information, the animals will respond with one particular energy.
Plants have a number of sophisticated uses for light that go far beyond their ability to photosynthesize low molecular weight sugar using one carbon dioxide, light, and water. Photomorphogenesis is the growth and development of plants in response to light. It allows to optimize their use of light and space. How does sensors and motors mechanism works in animals? And how does sensors and motors mechanism works in plants? Animals can respond to environmental factors moving to a new location. Plants, however, are rooted in a place and must respond to the surrounding environmental factors. Plants have a sophisticated system to detect and respond to light, gravity, temperature, and physical touch. Receptors sense environmental factors and relay the information to effector system, often through immediately chemical messenger to bring about plant responses.
How does the sensory and motor mechanism work in plants? Plants are rooted in place and must respond to the surrounding environmental factors. Plants have sophisticated system to detect and respond to light, gravity, temperature, and physical touch. Receptors sense environmental factors and relay the information to the effector system, often through chemical messengers, to bring out the plant responses.
Sensing of light in the environment is important to plants. It can be crucial for communication and survival. The response of plants to light is mediated by different photoreceptors, which are comprised of a protein covalently bonded to a light absorbing pigments called a chromophore. Together, the two are called as a chromophore. track the time. Plants can tell the time of the day and the time of year by sensing and using various wavelengths of sunlight. Phototropism is a directional response that allows plants to grow towards or even away from light. Positive phototropism is growth toward a light source, while negative phototropism, also called scototropism, is growth away from light. Photomorphogenesis is the growth and development of a plant's response to light. It allows to optimize their use of light and space.
So now, let's talk about the different types of tropism.
Occasionally, plants respond quickly to a stimulus, but most responses in plants are far too slow in real time. These responses are controlled by growth. Growth responses are constantly in work, directing towards or away from the stimulus to seek out the best conditions. They are called tropism or tropism. They are the plant's response to a certain stimulus.
Phototropism. Phototropism is the growth and development of plants in response to sunlight. The plant sends the sunlight and it responds by growing towards the available sunlight. This happens because of auxin. Okay, so what is auxin? Auxin are plant hormones, a chemical that sends message through a plant and they're released from the tip and moves down to the stem. Auxin can make plants taller. So if auxin applied to all cells, the plant will grow taller. But if the sunlight reaches a plant in one side, then auxin accumulates on the darker side of the plant. This means that the cell on the darker side will grow longer than the cell on the brighter side. Gravitophism, a process wherein the plant sends the gravity and in response the gravity pulls the plant and it grows towards it. Usually, plants that are planted lower undergo this process. This occurs also to fungi. Gravity can be either artificial or natural gravity. Hydrotrophism, a plant grows response in which the direction of growth is determined by the stimulus or gradient in water concentration.
Thigmotrophism. Examples are stems and many vines, such as grapes and morning glories. Sometimes plants shows a positive thigmotrophism. As vines grows, they coil around any object they touch.
Chemotrophism is a growth of plants in response to chemical.
Okay, this illustration represented in front of you is what we're going to use for our example of chemotrophism. This illustration is known as carpel. It's a female reproductive part of the plant. So, as stigma matures, it creates a sugary substance or chemical into the style. The pollen grains are present in the stigma here. It responds to the sugary substance created by the stigma to develop a tube-like structure which is called pollen tube. The pollen tube elongates and reaches to the ovule situated on the ovary. This is right here is an ovule that fertilization can be carried out. The movement of the pollen tube inside the style in response to the sugary substance secreted by the stigma is an example of chemotrophism. So, the response of this pollen tube created by the pollen grain is an example of chemotrophism.
Chromatrophism, the growth of organism in relation to wounds or injury. Plants grow away from the injured side is negative chromatophysa, and towards injured side accounts to positive chromatophysa.
Okay, now we're going to discuss about electrotrophism. So again, electrotrophism is a growth of plants in response to electric current. So there's no exact example for electrotrophism, but the only information we give you is plants have the ability to detect small electric fields resulting from wound structures within their organelles. The magnetic fields on the earth and the electric signal in plants can affect plant growth and crop yield.
Similarities. Both animals and plants, just like other living things, essentially respond to stimuli for them to be able to survive. They continue their growth and development through exhibiting several mechanisms in order to get the necessary nutrients and adapting an ever-changing environment. This report outlines the key similarities between plants and animals, despite their clear biological differences. Cellular structure. Both plants and animals are composed of eukaryotic cells which contain a defined nucleus and various organelles, such as mitochondria, ribosomes, and the endoplasmic reticulum. These cells are essential for carrying out vital functions. Metabolism. Both plants and animals undergo metabolic processes to obtain energy.